It's 2026 and I've been using the Nintendo Switch for just under a year now. I haven't yet upgraded to the Nintendo Switch 2, and after really using my Switch 1 for a good couple of weeks now, I'm starting to question whether I even need to at this point. So the specific model I use is the Nintendo Switch OLED, and after using it for a little under a year now, I mainly only use it for portable and Nintendo exclusive games. And despite the Switch 2 releasing just under a year ago as well, I haven't really found any need to upgrade it. So after using it for the last few weeks, I found out that it isn't just nostalgia, it's a whole other heap of reasons as to why it's not worth upgrading yet. Honestly, the Switch 1 holds up quite well even in 2026, and it gets a lot right. Handheld gaming is still one of its biggest strengths. It's ergonomically well designed for most people. You can pick it up instantly and start playing games like Mario Kart, Zelda. As the games are fully on the cartridge, there's no download times. And speaking about games like Mario and Zelda, they run perfectly well. Games are even at 30 FPS, the games are designed to run at that frame rate, so their game mechanics are designed to work with that frame rate as well, so it doesn't feel too out of place and too choppy. Visually, the graphics still hold up. Since you're playing on a really small screen, it's not too noticeable. With the specific model that I have, the OLED, colors really do pop in this one. There's something about the original Switch that's simple in a good way. You just pick up the console and you play it. Now, since the console did release in 2017, it is starting to show its age in some aspects. Now, while I did mention games like Mario and Zelda run well, not all games run like this. The Switch was never the strongest console on the market, even when it released. And especially in 2026, a lot of games are struggling to run on it at consistent frame rates with good graphics. And with the industry shifting towards a minimum of 60 FPS as standard for games, the 30 FPS does feel more noticeable in 2026 than it did 10 years ago. Compared to modern systems, the menu screen and load times are really slow, especially that eShop. We will not talk more about the eShop. That is a horrendous thing to use on the Switch. These don't necessarily make the console bad, but it does remind you that it is almost a decade old. It still plays the games I want to play at a respectable quality level. It's still a great portable console, and that's quite important for me. And with the Switch 2 being out for just under a year, I don't really feel like I'm missing out on anything. And that's just the weird part. The original Switch does feel old, but not outdated. Now, the reason why the Switch 2 might not be worth it at the moment is because it still doesn't have a strong lineup of first-party games, and I mainly play first-party Nintendo games. It has a Mario Kart, a Metroid Prime, and a Pokemon that's coming soon. Now, Metroid Prime I don't really play. Pokemon's coming in about a year, and Mario Kart, well, I'm not really a racing guy. I do have Mario Kart 8 and I do enjoy it, but it's not something I play a lot. And the biggest elephant in the room with the Switch 2 is the game keycards. Now, I really like collecting physical media. There's something about the artwork and having a physical copy of a game that I do like. Can't really explain it, but it's just something I do like to do. I'm not a collector of sorts, but I do like to have a collection of games just sitting there somewhere. With the game keycards, that kind of dampers on it a little bit. Since you technically don't own the game, you just own a license to actually download the game off the store. And after looking at local and online retailers for Switch 2 games, a lot of games are having that game keycard label on them. That being said, I will definitely get a Switch 2 at some point, sometime down the line. But who's the original Switch really for? If you're a casual gamer, it still makes sense. It's got a huge game library. As I mentioned earlier, it's great for pick up and play. If you travel a lot or you just want something in your hands to play a game on, then the original Switch is definitely something that you should pick up. Especially if you're not too fussed about performance and graphics, the Switch 1 is definitely outdated in terms of the hardware to push modern graphics. But if you're not too fussed about that, yeah, the Switch 1 plays a lot of games at decent quality. Now, Nintendo still sells the original Switch and its various models. As I mentioned, I've got the OLED model, and personally, we're going to start with this one. If you don't have a Switch at the moment, this is probably the one you should get. You'll obviously get the stand to play it on your TV, but that's not its main benefit. The main benefit is obviously the handheld experience. And with the OLED screen, you're getting the brightest and best color accuracy. Currently in the UK, the OLED Switch is going for about £300 to £299, which is only £100 less than the Switch 2. So if you are willing to fork over the extra 100 quid, then the Switch 2 might actually be worth it in that sense. But if you do want to save as much money as possible and get a modern gaming system, then this original Switch 1 OLED, £300 is a good deal. Then you have the other Switch models, the OG original Switch that came out in 2017, and it's bog standard. You still have those thick bezels, so the screen will look slightly smaller, a maybe worse battery life, and less storage capacity with the standard configurations. Now you have the really interesting Switch Lite. This console is completely portable. There's no docked play or anything like that, just complete portable play. And if you don't really care about screen size or screen brightness, you just want to have something on the go for the cheap, then the Switch Lite is definitely a good deal. If you're going to buy brand new, it's about $199 in the UK, And if you look in the used market, you can get some really good deals. I've seen some that are close to £99, $99.99, maybe even less if you go look on eBay. That's definitely a good deal, especially how expensive things are nowadays. So is the Nintendo Switch worth it in 2026? Well, if you don't have a Nintendo console at all and you want to play games on the cheap, then yeah, definitely. Even the base Xbox console is quite expensive now. Play games like I said, Zelda, Pokemon, Mario Kart, even some AAA games like Witcher 3 or Doom will run on this thing. As I said, it's not going to look the prettiest, but it'll run. This might be obvious to some, but this video is mainly for people who don't have a Switch at all and they want to see which one they can get. If you've already got Switch, then yeah, the Switch 2 is the next step. If you don't have a Switch and you want to get into gaming on Nintendo, then the Switch 1 is definitely still a good investment for that. If any of you guys still own a Switch 1, tell me when you want to upgrade. And if you don't have a Switch 1 and you're thinking about it, what model are you planning to get? The OLED, as I said, the OLED is probably the best one to get because it's the more premium original Switch experience. If not the OLED, if you don't want to spend £300 and you want to spend less, then the Switch Lite is probably my second recommendation. It's cheap, $199, even cheaper on the used market, and it runs just as well as the OLED Switch. If you made it this far in the video, thank you. You're awesome. Please subscribe, like this video, comment anything you want. See you guys in the next one.